Hey, this is Taylor Henry with 1080 Outdoors and New Directions Land and Farm, where we specialize in land management and buying and selling hunting properties, farm properties, and just recreational properties in southwest Wisconsin, mainly in the driftless region. Where we're standing right now is a property that's close to around 300 acres, mixed ag, and then a large portion of pasture that runs down to a flowing creek that borders the property. The key features of this property is the southwest end of this property is an ag field where they have actually planted rows of pines, and it's created a really cool pinch point where there's northern wind cover in the winter, and there's also southern slope for bedding just below that location. I'd specialize that spot as a hunting area. From there you go to the north, it rolls down into a hill. It's about 115 acres of active pasture that's being rented out to a neighbor farmer right now. We're receiving in between $100 and $150 of rent on the ag ground. We have about 150, 160 acres of open ag that right now is being rented out to the neighbor. If we move over into the northeast section of this property, another highlight for a hunting possibility, you have another set of pine trees that are planted in a field that rim around an area that could easily be left alone as a sanctuary, pulling deer out of a sanctuary bedding area up into a field, making a nice little transitional food plot where all of your ag fields around here are going to be destination food plots. And then if we move into the center of the property, we have a nice square chunk of about a 6 to 8 acre woods that could be left alone as a sanctuary as well, with food plots bordering it. And then on the inside edge, if we get to the center of the property, before we go down in over the hill towards the creek where there's pasture, the ground is actually flat and even enough where you could put food plots lining the inside field edges. What the possibilities of a property like this are endless. You can plant orchards on the top. If it was my plan, I would put about 30 acres into active food plots and management for deer, and you'd still be left with over 120 of rentable ag land. If someone were to highly manage the pasture ground and rotationally graze, move cattle in and out, you could create some amazing bedding pockets and cover. If someone didn't want to bring cattle in here and didn't want to graze that ground, you have 115 acres to the north that would turn into instant cover with always a running creek in the bottom that they'll have access to. Along with that north section where that creek is, you have access from a road, so you have access on two different sides of the property. This property is just a wide open canvas. Really a lot of stuff can be done with it. Right now it hasn't been hunted seriously for a long time. They also haven't just allowed anybody on here. We're in an area that's been known for big buck movement. Someone with a creative mind, you have an opportunity to form one of the better hunting properties in southwest Wisconsin, and I venture to say even the Midwest. When I look at properties like this, you have high ground, okay? You have tons of building opportunities. You have a house on the property, open ag with limited timber, and the timber that is here is already being used in pasture. If that were to be let go or managed for wildlife, you already have a place that's going to blow up in year one. We're in the math between the grazing and renting out conventional ag. On the low side, you're looking at between $30,000 and $40,000 a year on rent income. We are in the bottom part of this property. Now we're on the other side, complete northwest section where it's actually a lower area. We're right along a creek here. This would be your bottom access when we talk about a second access point. And when you look behind me here, so this hillside is the north section where most of the cover is going to be taking place if you're going to manage this place as a hunting property. That wood section over there is a lot thicker than it looks like on an aerial image. It's a lot more thick than we originally had thought. And then you have more of like an oak savanna, younger successional type growth that carries through that hillside. Now, if someone came in here and didn't graze this, like this is being grazed actively right now. The grass is pretty short. Who's ever grazing it's pushing it to the boundaries of what it can be grazed at. But if you were to take maybe cattle out of here, or if you rotationally grazed it and let that stuff grow back up in where that oak savanna type area is, that would turn into cover relatively quickly. When you look over into here, you have a nice little ridge top here that you could get easy access in from this bottom and pop up in and maybe hunt some beds in the mornings and create some type of access point over here where you can hunt the whole other side of your property. Or if you were to leave the north section alone, this would be kind of the start of your sanctuary. That hillside's good bedding. We have great bedding along this hillside. You have more cover stretching over there. And then if you want to move everything funneling up into those big ag fields for food sources, it truly is an open canvas. You have good fencing here, so already this ground, you know, it's not ever going to be conventional ag ground to rent, but with fencing already in place, the infrastructure here, you could rent it as grazing land right now, and there's already a person here doing it. The ground hasn't been overgrazed down here. It's not bad, and the creek isn't washed out. The mobility around this property is not bad. The creek isn't anything too big that you can't get across, and this is a whole, you know, we talk about all the time, having multiple points of access, you know, keeping deer on their toes and not just giving away all of your normal access points. This is a perfect example of this. You could sneak right along your north edge of the whole property, cross a creek, pop up into a stand up on top of that hill, or if you were to plant some type of screening. Granted, you can't just walk in here with things bedding out on that hillside. You're gonna get nailed, but there's ways to work around it. The nice thing is, of it being pasture and open land, is it's an open canvas, and you can create the structure that you want, and you can create the visual screen that you want out of this property. If you're someone that has the finances, you're interested in a property that's close to 300 acres with a house, get a hold of us. Before it gets to market, we're opening it up to our audience and our people before it gets on market and before possibly the price increases. So reach out to me, Taylor Henry, 608-606-9118, or email taylor@newdirectionsre.com for more information on this beautiful once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.